This is All India Radio. In the Year-Ender series, now we bring you an exclusive interview with Union Minister R.K. Singh on achievements and key initiatives of Ministry of Power and New and Renewable Energy. The interviewer is Arjun Chaudhary, AIR Correspondent.
I'm joined by the Honorable Minister for Power and New and Renewable Energy, Shri R.K. Singh. Mr. Singh, first of all, thank you for being with us on this program. We would like to understand, for the benefit of our listeners, what has been the capacity addition when it comes to power generation in this country?
As a whole, as a system, in the past 5 or 6 odd years, we've transformed the power sector. It's totally different from what it was in 2014, 2015. It's totally different. When our government came into office, we had power deficit. But we've now brought it down to almost zero. We've transformed our country from a power deficit country to a power surplus country. We added 173,000 megawatts of capacity from 2015 onwards till date. And today we export power to Bangladesh, to Nepal, to Myanmar. Our total installed capacity today is 4,08,000 megawatts. And our peak demand, which has been reached about in the region of 215,000 megawatts, 216, 217. That's the peak demand which has been reached. So that is one transformation which has taken place. Those long hours have gone. But this was not the only thing which did it. Other inputs were required as well. You could generate power, but you needed to transfer it to different corners of our country. So you generate power where the sources of power are. Whether it is the sun shining in Rajasthan, you generate solar there, or the wind blowing in some part of the country, you generate there. Or you generate thermal power in the coal belt. But you have to transfer it throughout the country, especially to the major loads, so you have to transport the power. Now that, again, is something which we did. We have connected the whole country into one grid. We added, I think, almost about 169,000 circuit kilometers. And today we can transfer 112,000 megawatts from one corner of the country to another. You can now generate power in Guwahati or wherever and transfer it to Kanyakumari, across the country to the remotest corner of Gujarat. Or similarly, you can generate power in Leh, Ladakh and transfer it to wherever you want. So that's another thing which we did. This is the largest single integrated grid in the world. There are other larger countries, but the grids are not integrated. The third thing which we did, that this itself was not sufficient. The third thing which had to be done was to strengthen the distribution system. So we spent in the past 5 years or so that I've been here about 204,000 crores. We got schemes from the states, we sanctioned those schemes, and then we got them implemented. So we added about 2,900 new substations. We upgraded almost about 3,980 older substations. We changed or added about 8.5 lakh circuit kilometers of HT lines and LT lines, about 750,000 transformers. So we ramped the distribution sector. Now because of that, now you could reach every village and every home. Decades after independence, thousands of villages, they were not connected to electricity. When our government came into office, thousands and thousands, we connected every village. We connected 29 million homes in 19 months and hundreds of thousands of hamlets. I took certificates from every state that every home which existed on the date we launched the program, all those homes have been connected. This was the largest expansion of access in the shortest time frame ever in the history of electricity, and this is what the International Energy Agency said, not me. Now all these has resulted in tangible terms in the availability of power in rural areas going up from over 12.5 hours in 2015 to 22.5 hours today. Power sector is transformed. Now the whole world is worried about environment. So are we, despite the fact that our contribution to deterioration of the environment has been minimal. An average Indian emits 1/3 of what the whole world on an average. Our per capita emissions are 1/3 of the global average. The developed countries' per capita emissions are 3 times, 4 times, 6 times the global average. Now that is the difference. A developed country which is emitting 6 times the global average is emitting 18 times what an average Indian emits. The whole carbon load on the atmosphere, which has caused this rise in temperature by about 0.89 degrees. Now, the developed countries are responsible for 85% of that. We are responsible for only 3.4% of that. All the historical emissions, which are there, they don't dissipate. The half-life of carbon is thousands and thousands of years. So, we have not caused what the present mess. But yet, we believe that environment is important. Our Prime Minister believes our environment is important. Our government believes the environment. So, we decided that we shall take steps about it. We will not only talk, as most developed countries have been doing. So we pledged in COP21 in Paris that by 2030, 40% of our power generation capacity will come from non-fossil sources. That means non-carbon sources, which means no coal. Today, 42% of our power generation capacity is non-fossil. That means renewable and nuclear energy. Nuclear energy is just about 6,800 megawatts. And the remaining 166,000 megawatts is renewable, solar, wind. We are the only country which achieved what it pledged to achieve by 2030, 9 years in advance. We achieved it in November 21. No other country has carried out a transformation on such a scale at such speed. We had this Ujala program. In that, we added or replaced the conventional lighting systems with LED, and that has resulted in reduction of CO2 emissions by 103 million tons of CO2 per annum, only because of LED. That results in reduction in energy consumption and therefore reduction in emissions. Similarly, we have a program for industry called Perform Achieve Trade. Now, in that, we set standards for the industry. Look at the current consumption of energy per unit of product and emissions per unit of product, and then we set standards. And if they do not achieve the standards, they are penalized. If they overachieve the standards, they get energy saving certificates. Now, that has resulted in reduction of CO2 emissions in the industry by 106 million tons per annum. The different countries have come and studied that program. We have star labeling program for appliances, 5-star, 4-star. That's our program. The next frontier is green hydrogen. So we are looking at that.
Sir, I understand that India is now extended its G20 presidency as well, and next year we have the summit in 2023, New Delhi, month of September, I believe. With this strong example of performance in the domestic economy and India being a leading consumer and now a net exporter of power, how do you see us addressing the world on that stage?
When we talk in energy, we talk from a position of somebody who's done something. And so that gives us different gravitas to what we are saying. Now, we believe that the direction we have followed is the correct direction. And we will share our experience with them. They would like us to share our experience with them, both in access as well as in energy transition. And both are actually a part of sustainable development goals. We'll share what we did, and what we did, other people can do. That is how we see it. Except very poorest countries. They will need assistance. The developed countries will have to come forward and give that assistance to the poor countries in Africa, etc. Where access has not happened, where people are still deprived of electricity. They'll need to walk the talk in terms of financing, both access as well as transition. As far as we are concerned, we are getting huge amount of investment. All my bids are hotly contested. We have emerged as the most attractive destination for investment in renewables in the world. That's what Bloomberg says, not me.
So I understand also that you managed to turn around the DISCOM debt. 20,000 crore rupees of interest cost savings have been achieved.
Absolutely. In fact, the DISCOM losses, which was ruling at almost 21.6% aggregate for the country. Some are in profit, some are in loss that time. Most government DISCOMs are in loss. Now, we have reduced that losses. We call it aggregate technical and commercial losses by 5%. So we brought it down to 17%. So DISCOM turnaround is another major sort of step.
So it seems you have managed to couple infrastructure works with finance,
yes,
REC,
absolutely.
and
that's what I told all the states. Your distribution companies have been loss making. Because you make losses, whatever money we spend goes down into a bottomless well. Because we spend money for helping you set up stations. We give you money to replace ST lines, LT lines. We give you money to buy transformers. But you can't maintain them because your DISCOMs are making losses. So we'll not give you any money under our schemes. Unless and until you do those things which I said. You first identify the causes of losses. Undertake to remove those causes, the steps which you will take. And then we'll lend you. So that is working. That was one step. The other step, of course, was that those losses were financed in part by taking loans and in part by keeping GENCO's dues. So you consume electricity, but you don't pay for it. So you finance it. That made the generation sick. When I joined, number of generation units were sick, etc. And the investment had stopped coming. So we said, this can't work. My demand is growing. That is the third story which I'll tell you. My demand in November grew by 12%. In this year, my demand has been growing by 10%, 10.6%. On a daily basis, my demand is about 20,000 megawatts to 25,000 megawatts more than the corresponding day of the last year. That's such a huge demand. And have you seen load shedding anywhere? you have. This huge demand growth means that my demand will double by 2030. So right now, we consume about 1,450 billion units. By 2030, it will be 2,900 billion, double. So I'll have to add, today my capacity is 408 gigawatts, that means 408,000 megawatts. So by 2030, it has to be 800,000 megawatts. So investment has to come, then the capacity will come. How will investment come if you don't get paid? Suppose you want to invest in generating electricity, will you do so? If you know that you will invest in generating electricity, you will take a loan. You will generate electricity, sell it to the discoms, and they won't pay you. Will you invest? No. This was critical. So we decided that, okay, we put in place a mechanism whereby if you don't pay within the stipulated time, and this is built into the system now, automatic. If you don't pay, then automatically your connection to the power exchange goes off. So you cannot buy power on a day-to-day basis from the exchange. You can, of course, draw from under your long-term contract. That's called long-term access. Okay. But only for the next 30 days. After that, your long-term access gets curtailed by 10%. And 10% every month that you delay paying. So that your state will become progressively dark. And it happens automatically. So when we put this into place, then in 13 states, 13 discoms, the lights switched off, telephone calls, etc. I said, sorry, it's automatic. I can't, nobody can intervene. They all paid. And they all pay on time. Now, indebtedness is coming down. We've transformed it. The other story, as I said, was about the power demand. The power demand increasing at this pace, that is the result of our economy growing, and it is the result of three things. Our economy growing, but the first is the result of empowering 2 crore 90 lakh households whom you connected. They started consuming. Second, the other people were connected, but they had not reached their peak consumption. You know why? Because of load shedding. If electricity is not there, how do you consume? Now, there is no load shedding. We put goodbye to that system. We made our system surplus. Now, this is a very difficult time for the world in energy terms. You go to Germany, the price of electricity has gone up 5 times. You go to United Kingdom, it's gone up 6 times. You go to wherever, it's gone up 5 times, 6 times, 7 times. There are blackouts here and there in the development. Has it happened in India? Despite such a huge surge in demand? No. Now that is the story.
So
we have managed our power sector better than they have been able to. The challenge is not over, mind you. The demand is growing, it will keep growing. The challenge is a continuing challenge. Every day I look at the report and I see that my demand is there. I see how much coal has come, how much coal I have consumed.
The thermal power station which feeds on coal, then we have solar also. I don't want to take up too much of your time, Mr. Singh, but do tell us about green hydrogen. How do you see that as something that will meet the demand that we are seeing on a continuing basis all the way till 2030?
Electricity is one side of it, is one part of your energy consumption. There are other parts of your energy consumption. Now, they also have to be decarbonized if you want to stop emissions. So you make steel, you use coke. You have to move away from that steel. You have to move towards green steel, which will require green hydrogen. So the green hydrogen, green ammonia will become feedstock instead of coke. You will not have to import coke. Because you have so much of renewable energy, you will be able to make green hydrogen cheap and export green hydrogen. Everybody will need green hydrogen because everybody is going to decarbonize. Everybody is saying that I will get to net zero in year so and so. You need green hydrogen for that. The mobility, or let's say fertilizer, you use ammonia, which comes from natural gas, which again releases carbon dioxide. Now you have to make ammonia from green hydrogen. So the ammonia will go green, so that the fertilizer goes green. Then let's say ships mobility, they'll get powered by green energy, green ammonia. So the whole world is going to go green. Now that requires green hydrogen, green ammonia. And we believe that we are uniquely placed because of this huge capacity we have added of renewable energy. And because we are uniquely placed for providing that green hydrogen and green ammonia at lower prices than the other countries. Some countries have come forward with huge subsidies for their own domestic green hydrogen production. The United States, for example, has announced subsidies as much as $3 per kilogram of green hydrogen. That's the cost of production. I do believe it's a violation of the WTO rules, but that apart, we have to compete. We'll compete. The objective is to emerge as an exporter of energy. We have been importer of energy long enough.
Thank you so much, Mr. R.K. Singh, for talking to us in detail about the achievements of the power sector in the last 4 years and the challenges now and the challenges ahead, how we meet them. Thank you.
Thank you.
You are listening to an exclusive interview with Union Minister R.K. Singh on achievements and key initiatives of Ministry of Power and New and Renewable Energy. The interviewer was Arjun J. Chaudhary, AIR Correspondent. This program was produced and presented by the News Services Division of All India Radio. You can listen to it on a mobile app, News on AIR. This program is also available on a YouTube channel, News on AIR Official.